September 14th, 2020, and the time is 5:30 p.m. The meeting of the Paris City Council is called to order. Mr. Anderson will give the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Hughes.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for the opportunity to be here today, Father, to conduct the business of the city. We pray for your wisdom and guidance and direction, that we might make wise decisions, Father, that profit our city. And we just ask, Father, that we would work together for that common goal to make Paris a better place to live. If we ask these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. If necessary, the City Council may convene into executive session under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code regarding any item on this agenda. The Citizens Forum is now open. Please give your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Good evening, Council. First and foremost, my name is Mihir Punkage. I live at 3055 Oak Creek Drive here in Paris, Texas. I'm a business owner. One of my businesses is Days Inn by Wyndham here in Paris, Texas at 2650 North Main Street, Paris, Texas. I wanted to make just 2 comments about something here. The Meadowview Apartments directly right next to us, 520 Deschong Drive, they had a fire April 14th, and I understand it's been COVID, pandemic, this, that, and the other, and I get it. We're all business owners. We all have a business to run, but that apartment is in shambles. It looks bad upon our city. It has tarp missing and in places in certain areas. The roof has holes. When it rains, it floods. Their shingles are blowing onto my property, and it's been 4 months. So my deal is we've got to figure out a way to go ahead and work with the owner of this apartment complex to get it going. But it looks bad, and it looks bad on my business. My business is, I own the number 5 Days Inn in the nation. So we pride ourselves on our operations. We've got to keep it going, but we want to do that for our community and keep it running. So I just urge that maybe we look at that and work with the business owner, with the apartment complex owner, and let's figure out what's going on. The second issue that I'm having is CNC Rentals is right behind us, and they're at 2720 North Main Street here in Paris, Texas. Again, another great business. We have no issues with either one of them. But they've dug out a trench behind their property, and when it rains, all that dirt comes off Deschong. It basically coats all of Deschong, coats my entire front and back of my hotel, and then on top of that, it goes all the way down towards the hospital. And it's making that whole road look awful when it wasn't like that before. So I would just like to see, did they permit that? I mean, what's going on in all that dirt work? So anyways, I just say that the great businesses, we absolutely want to be able to work with them. No issues there, but we just wanted to kind of bring that to the table and kind of make sure that, hey, we have an issue with it at the moment, but we want to work with them. So thank you so much. Thank you for what you do, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash. The consent agenda, does anyone have anything they wish to pull and discuss from the consent agenda? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm closing the Citizens Forum, seeing no other speakers. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Does anyone have anything to wish to pull?
I have a question on 6D about the housing authorities. I guess you're approving of the minutes. Is that right?
Yes.
I just have a couple of questions on the housing authority. I know that the mayor appoints the board, but what governance do we have over the housing authority?
Ms. Harris, do you want to address that?
Did you hear me? Because I wasn't talking into my mic.
I did. You know, it's really kind of its own statutory entity. And, you know, we're not responsible for what that board does or for anything that happens on that property. But the statute requires that the mayor appoint members to that board.
Right. So are they obligated to turn over their minutes to the city?
I've not looked into that before, but I can certainly do that and get back to you.
Because I think a request was made at one time by the council to review their minutes, and I was just wanting to ask why.
Now, historically, I don't know why, unless there's a statutory requirement that I'm not aware of that requires that.
Mr. Anderson?
He has better historical knowledge than me.
This may be the reason we require it. They are obligated to pay to the city a pilot fee, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. And we get that information, their financial information, through their minutes when their audit is presented to their board. So if for no other reason, we would need to get their minutes at least for that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So much better.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson and Ms. Harris. Mr. Savage, is that
That's all.
satisfactory? Okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Pilgrim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Item number 7, conduct a public Mr. Path, on the city's proposed tax rate. You have a presentation for us before we begin the public hearing. Okay, thank you.
All right, this is the public, this is the preparation for the public hearings. So we have 2 tonight on the property tax rate, and then we have one for the proposed budget. So I know we don't have a very large audience here tonight, but perhaps we have some watching tonight. So I wanted to give a very brief presentation on the tax rate first, and then we have the public hearing. I can answer questions, and then we'll have another presentation on the proposed budget, and then we can answer questions there. So the first one tonight is on the property tax rate. Under state law, we're required to have a separate public hearing from the budget itself in order to review the tax rate. City Council approved a resolution at the last meeting to hold a hearing tonight. And pursuant to state law, we cannot approve the tax rate tonight. We have to do it on a different night, which would be tomorrow night, 5:30, here at the council chamber. We will review a tax rate at that point. So unfortunately, state law does not allow us to do it at the same meeting, so we have to have a separate meeting for that. Real quick, I just got 2 slides on this. The property tax rate, again, it's that bolded item there. It's a 48 cents. It's 48, little over 48 cents there is a total combined property tax rate between O&M and debt. It is decreasing compared to prior years. In fact, looking at the valuations versus the tax rate history, as you go from right to left, I should have done it the other way around, but right to left, we have decreased our tax rate by 7% compared to last year. Although the property valuation has gone up 5%, we've decreased our rate by 7%. And so last year was 51 cents, this year is 48 cents. And that is a proposed tax rate supporting this fiscal year 2021 budget. And I will step aside. So.
Thank you, Mr. Path. This public hearing is required by law as part of the budget process. The public hearing is now open, and anyone wishing to give comments about this item, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing there is no one wishing to speak, the public hearing is now closed. Item number 8, Mr. Path, you have slides for us?
Yes, I have just a short one here. This too this will be a public hearing on the proposed budget we'll get to in a second here. Again, just to give a few slides here, since this is a public hearing for the people, for the citizens, those who are watching. Again, we're required to have a separate public hearing from the tax rate to look at the budget itself. The council approved a resolution last meeting to hold the hearing tonight. And so I've just given a very quick overview. I won't go into depth here, just very quick overview based off the budget, off the ordinance itself. Fiscal year 2021 budget is general funds is $24,443,660. That's 1920. The current year is $23,595,442. So an increase there of less than $1 million. The ordinance itself lists out categories for budget items. General government of $1.2 million, finance $450,000, emergency services of $15 million, airport of $257,000, public works $4.8 million, library services of $727,000, miscellaneous, which is Paris Band, general, and IT of $1.7, and contingency of $50,000. That wraps up the $24,443,660 number right there. And looking at our other operating budgets, bonded indebtedness, which is the other part of the property tax value, $1.6 million, which is a decrease from last year of $1.8 million. Water and sewer utility fiscal year 2021 is $15 million. That includes operation and debt service for our utility bonds. 1920 was 15.1. Ordinance in the packet, you'll see water, which is 7.4 million, sewer, which is 3.9, and bonds of 3.8. Then our sanitation utility is 1.1 million, which is a slight decrease from 1920 of 1.187 million. So that's just a very quick overview of our budget. We've gone in depth in other things, and I can answer any questions you might have about anything specific you might have about the budget. Otherwise, we can move on to the public hearing as well.
Any questions of Mr. Path? Thank you for that very good overview. Item number 8, conduct a public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. This public hearing is required by law as part of the budget process. The public hearing is now open, and anyone wishing to give comments about this item, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing there's no one wishing to speak, the public hearing is now closed. Item number 9, discuss and act on an ordinance adopting a budget for the ensuing fiscal period beginning October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021. Mr. Path, do you have any more presentations? Yeah. All right. Is there any discussion from the council?
Well, I just have a comment, and Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to, everybody has complimented Mr. Path on his budget preparation and his presentation, and I would just like to echo that. I have sat here, and because I've had a lot of questions, and he's answered them. This has just been an absolutely wonderful process. So I thank you so much for your consideration, your being so well prepared, and you're presenting to us so well. And it's just, like I said, it's just been a lovely process. So thank you again so much to you and also your staff, because you've been very generous to acknowledge how helpful the staff has been to you as well. So thank you again.
I'd like to echo Ms. Knox that our staff has done an outstanding job and very professional. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 city budget ordinance as written.
I'll second
Thank
that.
you. Second by Mr. Savage. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, all opposed. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations on your first Paris budget. Item number 10, discuss and authorize city staff and Samco Capital Markets, the city's financial advisor, to proceed with refunding the city's outstanding combination tax and limited pledge revenue certificates of obligation Series 2010, so long as certain savings thresholds can be achieved. Mr. Anderson.
Okay. As y'all know, 10 years ago, we issued $3,005,000 worth of COs in order to do some work on Collegiate Drive and extend it out because they were building the new high school out there in order to control the traffic flow. Those COs allowed us, after a 10-year period, to redeem those if we choose to do so. And so what we're recommending tonight is that we do redeem those because the interest rates are so much better now than what they were then. We can actually issue new COs to replace those, pay the cost of those, and still have a savings of approximately $172,000 over the remaining 10 years that those COs will be paid out, which is not an extension of the old issue, but it just lines up and matches it time-wise as well. I believe Samco provided you, and it was in your packet, a couple of page PowerPoint that just kind of summarized that we were redeeming the years in the payments from 2021 through 2030. The average interest rate on the old issue was 3.9%. It's going to be 1.45% on the new issue, and that's where we're gaining the ground. It's not a whole lot of money per year, but over the 10-year period, it comes up to that $172,000. And that's about 9% savings, a little over. And we can't, as staff, see any reason why we shouldn't do it and gain that savings.
Any questions of Mr. Anderson or discussion? I'm always about saving money. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance and related attachments granting, I'm on the wrong thing.
Item number 10.
I can't get to it.
Okay, just,
Authorize the city staff and Samco Capital Markets to proceed with refunding the city's outstanding combination tax and limited pledge revenue.
thank you, Ms.
Tickets
Knox.
of obligation.
Okay, I'm
Sorry
sorry.
for the,
And a
sorry for
second?
the confusion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pilgrim. Any more discussion? All in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item passes unanimously. Item number 11, discuss and act on an ordinance approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos Cities Steering Committee and Atmos Energy Corporation Mid-Tex Division regarding the company's 2020 rate review mechanism filings, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, finding the rates to be set by the settlement tariffs to be just and reasonable and in the public interest, requiring reconciliation and rate adjustments if federal income tax rates change, terminating the RRM process for 2018 pending renegotiation of RRM terms and conditions, requiring the company to reimburse ACSC's reasonable rate-making expenses, determining that the ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, adopting a savings clause, a severability clause, a repealer clause, declaring an effective date, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and the ACSC's legal counsel. Mr. Anderson.
Okay. What you said is going to last longer than what I'm fixing to say.
Okay.
Back in late March of this year, Atmos filed a request for increased revenues system-wide of $141 million. That was later reduced to $136. Of that $136, only $98 million applied to cities that are part of the ACSC group. Those that are not part of that group are larger cities like the city of Dallas that kind of negotiate their own rate. That's why they're not included in there. But ACSC always reviews these requests, and in that negotiation process, the request was reduced to another $8.7 million, and ACSC, those consultants, think that amount is a reasonable amount, what's left, and they recommend that that negotiated rate be approved, and that's what the city is recommending tonight too. You have the opportunity, if you can reject them, you can approve them, or you can just ignore them. But the best action, I think, for the city of Paris is for you to approve the rate as it's recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any questions for Mr. Anderson or discussion?
Is this gonna be a rate increase on any side?
It will be, for the average residential customer, it's about $5.15 a month. Average commercial customer, it's about $15.48 a month.
And that's a pretty flat fee, or is that on a usage basis?
It is on a usage basis, you know, if, it's not a flat dollar amount.
Is there, and this is going straight to Atmos for,
They're allowed under this rate recovery mechanism that was developed so that they wouldn't have to do a full rate increase process going through utility commission, you know, for when they've had increases in certain areas. And what the steering committee does, it hires a consultant to go in and review and verify their increased cost, and they're allowed, and the Public Utility Commission would allow them to recover certain increased operational costs, which is what this does. So it's not what you would call excess or, you know, excessive. They have had to justify all of these costs, that they were legitimate costs, and that they're allowed to recover them under this process.
And it's less than they had originally asked for.
Yes.
So we negotiated the increase down.
Right. I was trying to look and see, I think it was almost 10% less than what they originally requested.
Thank you.
So this was in, I see 2018. Now, how long would this, if we approve it, how long would it last?
They're allowed, I believe, to come back every year if they can justify it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, and they've been doing a lot of line replacements, for example, you know, for safety reasons. You know, and it's things like that that they're allowed to recover, you know.
One of our options is negotiate ourselves, and I don't think that would be very,
Well, it would be
Fruitful.
beyond the expertise of the staff, you know, and even the steering committee hires a consultant, somebody who's got expertise in that area, because you really do have to work in that area to know what you're looking at.
and then you end up dealing with the Railroad Commission. I worked for them my senior year in college, and it's a pretty big bureaucracy.
Well, we don't want to get into the political end of it.
So when would the increase take effect on our, on the bill?
It's
Yeah,
December 1st.
December 1st,
Yeah.
okay.
Part of the negotiation was a 2-month delay. in
Okay.
October 1st.
Okay.
and part of Paris does not receive Atmos service. A big part of my district does not have service from Atmos. So it only affects part of our citizens. Any more discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion.
A discussion? What do you want to do?
Pilgrim, make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a
To-
motion to approve the ordinance and related attachments, granting in the affirmative with the ACSC study and their negotiations.
Thank you, Mr. Pilgrim. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. All right, any more discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving, raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Carries unanimously. Item number 12, discuss and act on an ordinance extending the mayor's declaration of local disaster for public health emergency and order dated March 19th, 2020, as extended by resolution number 2020-011 and by ordinances numbers 2020-014, 2020-017, 2020-023, and 2020-030 for an additional 120 days. Ms. Harris?
As you're aware, when we first declared this state, and this is COVID-related, of course, and you'll all recall this, we were extending that by 30-day increments, and we were doing it every month. And then the last time we did 60, and COVID's not done, and we're heading into the winter months. and the holidays. So after discussing this with Dr. Clifford, we determined that getting us through the holidays to January, and that's 120 days, this thing's not going to be over by then, and if it is, we'll just fix it. We'll terminate it between now and then, but that keeps us from having to do that between now and January. And I'd recommend that you extend that disaster declaration for another 120 days. As I've told you before, it could be important for some types of reimbursement disaster aid. So far, none of the aid that's available has required it, but it doesn't hurt anything to do it. And we no longer have any active orders requiring anybody to do anything. It's just the disaster declaration.
Thank you. Any
Question?
discussion?
I make a motion to extend the ordinance, mayor's declaration for local disaster, public health emergencies for another 120 days.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. A
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. All right, all those in favor of approving the mayor's declaration of local disaster, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, approved unanimously. Item number 13, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Sanitation Solutions. And then we will need to discuss each of these 5 separately, and each of them requires 5 affirmative votes. Ms. Ellis?
Hi, how are y'all? We have 5 returning solid waste haulers that are requesting a permit. We've got 1 new one. The new one is JOTS. They've all completed their application and made their insurance requirements. So we're recommending that you approve each one of them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or discussion? All right, as required by law, we'll take a separate vote on items 13 through 18. I will entertain a motion on
The first one, Sanitation Solutions.
well, I don't have
13.
that. I'll
Yeah.
say on Sanitation Solutions, right there. As required by law, we're going to take a separate one on Sanitation Solutions first and entertain a motion.
I make the motion that we accept the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Sanitation Solutions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Savage. A second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Knox? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 14, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Raymond Tabor, doing business as Waste Connection of Northeast Texas. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I make a motion to issue the solid waste collection permit to Raymond Taylor, DBA Waste Connection of Northeast Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Pilgrim. A second? Mr. Hughes? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 15, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Richard Mark Boswell Jr., doing business as Dumpster Drop LLC. I'll
Make a
entertain a
motion.
motion.
I make a motion to authorize the issue of solid waste collection permit to Richard Mark Boswell Jr., DBA Dumpsters Drop LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Second it.
Second, Mr. Savage. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 16, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Nelson and Tana Stoll, doing business as Countryside Disposal LLC. Entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Nelson and Tana Stoll, DBA Countryside Disposal LLC.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. A second. Mr. Hughes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 17, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Mike Vihi Jr. and Justin Miller, doing business as MJ Outdoors LLC. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion that we issue a solid waste collection permit to Mike V. Jr. and Justin Miller, DBA.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pilgrim. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 18, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Jots Reynolds LLC. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a solid waste collection permit to Jots Reynolds LLC.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. Mr. Hughes, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Number 19, discuss and act on a recommendation to remove one board member from the Historic Preservation Commission for failure to attend meetings and for failure to take the oath of office, and appoint one member to fill the vacant position. Ms. Ellis?
Okay, we are asking that you all remove Mr. Alexander from the HPC. He has not shown up for either of the meetings that have been called. He will not return emails or phone calls. I don't know if he's unable or he doesn't want to serve, but we need to fill the position. In your memo and in your packet, you'll see that you had one applicant, but today we received another applicant. One of the applicants is Jennifer Long. She's in District 5. The other is Michael Montgomery. He's in District 1. Both of them are registered voters and meet the qualifications.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Any discussion on removing Mr. Alexander? I feel like we don't have much choice if he's not taken the oath of office or shown up to any meetings.
Right, I think it's important to be at the meetings if you're gonna be on the committees or boards, so I think we should move forward with replacing him.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jennifer Long to fill the vacant position.
Okay, well, we have to remove Mr.
I'm sorry.
Alexander first.
I'll make a motion to remove Mr. Alexander from the board.
Thank you, Mr. Pilgrim. A
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. All those in favor of removing Mr. Alexander from the board, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, say no, those opposed. Motion carries unanimously. I'll take nominations for a HPC board member.
I nominate Miss Jennifer Long.
All right, any other nominations? All right. All those in favor of Ms. Long, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Item number 20, discuss and approve a professional services agreement in the amount of $129,999 with Sterling, Inc. to upgrade the city's data center hardware. Mr. Klinkerman.
Good evening, y'all. The IT department has a recurring policy that we try to life cycle the critical infrastructure that we have in place. Been doing this for a number of years. We have at the primary site over here, that server cluster is 5 years old. Our old server cluster is at the secondary site. It's now 11 years old. We're starting to have failures of hard drives and components on the secondary side. This is kind of identified when we started looking at it last year, and we started trying to plan how we were going to do this because it's a large item. So we typically have been splitting it across 2 fiscal years. I've got money in this year's budget, and I've got money in next year's budget. The plan would be that they would come in and they would replace the primary server cluster and move all of the virtual servers that we have currently working over onto this new hardware. The secondary site would have an identical setup, and then those 2 sites would mirror each other. Those virtual servers talk to each other continually. This is high availability. It allows us to, no matter what happens, at one of the sites, all the city workers can still utilize all their servers and all their programs and everything like that. In the process of all that, we started getting notifications from our backup for disaster recovery vendor that they had been bought out by another company and they were phasing out the software solution that we were using. And so one of the solutions that the storage and the server experts was that they have on each place a backup solution. It's an appliance that has enough storage space and a software solution that it talks to them constantly and it has a backup right there. So at that point in time, you've got the high availability, both ends. You've got the backup. The only thing that can happen, could happen, last possible scenario that we come up with, because we're all about redundancy and trying to make sure that we never lose our data. And is that we would take our primary hardware down here now, move it to the secondary site, and that would become the last resort if we had something happen with both of them. They would at least have a disaster recovery hardware. That's already paid for, but that's basically the quick way of just describing what we're trying to do when it comes to preserving the information and the high availability and the disaster recovery, so we have the continuity of operations of all of the different departments who utilize all the different servers and their software. And so after meeting and working on this for a good number of months, the price has come down. It was higher, and we had to go to a different option. This is the lowest price we have to meet all of the objectives of trying to get us up to speed, and then also range in high availability and disaster recovery. We should be good at that point in time from this standpoint for another 5 years at least. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I'd like to take you on a tour at some point in time of what we have. Be nice for y'all to see what we have in place.
Well, sounds complicated.
Is this price from one company, or you talked to several companies and came up with the lowest?
Well, we're pricing for hardware basically comes under the Texas Department of Information Resources. No one I know of has the technical knowledge. No small city, let me put it that way. Most small entity has the technical knowledge to be able to write a spec. So we rely on the state to write the specs, and then the pricing is set by it doesn't matter whether you're Dell, HP, whoever. And so our pricing is through that for hardware. When it came to trying to find what we needed to do, we don't have anybody on staff that has the necessary credentials and experience and stuff. So our Dell rep that we deal with for PCs for the most part put us in touch with their storage and their server specialists. They then looked at our total data usage, total data we have, the space we have, the analytics as far as what processes, what servers are using what resources. Some servers use a lot of memory, a lot of CPU, and a lot of network finance server, for example. A lot of transactions happening. Other ones are lower capacity, but they downloaded a log of all those things, and then after talking to us as far as what our potential growth would be over the next 5 years, they made the recommendations of all this hardware. They don't have the internal people. I asked for them to put us in touch with someone who has the technical knowledge of all the different things that we want to do. Our environment is what they call a Hyper-V environment. The hardware that we have right now on the servers, it runs Hyper-V, which manages virtual servers. They're not physical machines, they're logical. And so we've got 14 of those running on this downtown cluster. It manages those things. We need someone to come up and set up the storage space in the right data pools, assign the right number of, some of the hard drives, for example, are solid state versus rotating disk, and so those are good for high transactions, IOPS, that like the finance does. So they arrange those storage pools so that they have a certain amount of the solid state drives versus the rotating disk drives for the slower response servers. We don't know how to do that. And we have historically always outsourced that. And that's the reason why we're, after meeting with this company that Dale recommended, that we want to go with what they're suggesting as far as a way to meet our needs now and for the next 5 years. So it's
Council members, when he talks about that tech stuff, it's kind of like the teacher from Charlie Brown. I hear wah, 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 wah. Just bottom lining it for you, in terms of your question, the state pricing, you know, they put together that, and then they pre-qualify the vendors and pre-qualify the bids. So it's essentially like a buy board where you would buy other equipment from. So that satisfies competitive bidding laws. And then the rest of this is a professional service agreement that does not fall within the competitive bidding laws, but, you know, we need to go with the people who work with Dell and who Dell recommended. Is that helpful?
Yes, yes.
what she said. Short answer.
Any further questions of Mr. Klinkerman or discussion? I just think that must be very tedious to try to get one system down and bring another one up.
Oh, it's going to take a while. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to try to get the components in here and get them all set up and get them all ready, and then we'll have to, that'll be the big part. And the next part is we'll have to take, unfortunately, some of these people have to be offline over a weekend while we move their virtual servers over to the new hardware.
Well, and I like that you're splitting it between 2 budget years.
Yes, I've always done that.
That's great.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I need my weekend access.
You may have access to nothing.
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to, approve the service agreement in the amount of $129,999 with Sterling Incorporated.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. All those in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign against. All right, motion carries unanimously. Item number 21, discuss and authorize $31,000 from the 2019-2020 Community Development underspent budget to hire Hargis Electric and Bryco and Company to install landscape lighting for the plaza. Ms. Bedford.
Evening. Good. How are y'all? So, we are very excited, the Main Street Advisory Board and many, many downtown members. We've had an issue in downtown for many years, since I've been here and probably before that, that the plaza between the sidewalk, which has lampposts, and the fountain, the only lights that have been available are either wrapping C9 lights around the trees or mood lighting that hasn't worked in a very, very long time. It's way up in the top of the trees, still there, hasn't worked since I've been here almost 10 years. And so we had street lamps that were illuminating the sidewalk even prior to the expansion, but they were up in the tree canopy because, you know, over time those trees have grown up and they've actually created a lot of shade. And so we have an issue at nighttime that's been ongoing for a very long time, even before the expansion of the plaza. So we've moved the street lamps out and they illuminate great on the sidewalk, but the only light between the street lamps and all that grassy space is the fountain lights, and they're just not bright enough to make it feel safe and secure down there. And so we've had a lot of people concerned about it, and so we've come up with an option. It kind of just so happened that I was with one of the landscape architects from the tool design firm. I met with him and was showing him some stuff in downtown most recently, and told him my issues, and he came up with a couple of companies that would work very well to light up the plaza. And one of my Main Street board members has done some research, and what we've come up with is some landscape lighting that's recessed and should light up the trees. And then also we have some ideas about the fountain and how to light that up and make it nice and bright and beautiful to showcase its architectural elements. And we've tried it with, one thing we're proposing is some color changing lights. And so we can use that color changing light system to kind of change up the way we're doing the holidays. And it's basically, you can light anything, any color that you can imagine. So with the way the lights are set up now, there's actually 300,000 color combinations. And so we're proposing lighting up the plaza. Mostly I see us using a bright, kind of a soft, you know, or the yellow colored light. I see us using that most. But if we have, let's say, 4th of July, we can do the lights red, white, and blue. Or, you know, Christmas time, we can do the Christmas colors, or Halloween, and we can do all that with the dial on a phone app. And so it's high tech, but I think it'll serve its purpose. Number one, making it feel safer, brightening up the plaza, and then number two, helping us through the holidays. And so that's where I am. We had money left over in the community development budget. I've spent the past probably 3.5 months trying to research the best way to get this done. I had talked to out-of-town people who were just really expensive, couldn't get anybody to come to do it. And we started with some in-town people too, and some said they were going to go ahead and give me a bid and then backed out. I had one guy give me an incomplete bid just to purchase lights, no installation, and we landed on Hargis Electric, who said that they could install the lighting, and we can get it completely done mostly before the end of the budget year. And as for the fountain, we have access to a stonemason that has worked on the fountain before, and numerous projects, worked with the landings, made the fish spout water when we are having some blockage problems and stuff. And there's some lighting channels that he's going to be able to help us access that have been there previously. So the plan is to light the bottom bathtub, I call it the bathtub, and then the next bowl up, which would be the middle bowl, we're going to put some lights above that bowl, but beneath the bottom bowl, and then some lights in the very top to light the nymph at night. So you'll see a lot of the architectural elements, as well as just lighting the trees. And also, as you approach the sidewalks, we have some bollards that will light the steps as you go up to the fountain. So the sidewalks, as you enter from where the street lamps are to the fountain, will actually be lit as well. So, all right.
Sounds beautiful. Any discussion or questions of Ms. Bedford?
I think it's going to be great, because right now, you know, it's almost lost with the expansion and all the trees and everything. I think this is going to really highlight and showcase our fountain. It's going to be
Good.
nice, and be also secure for people that walk around the park up there.
Sure.
That's going to be great.
I was struck by the fact that when we wrap the tree trunks, those lights don't last but a year or two.
Yeah.
And a lot of man hours from our staff, so.
Right. They're
Right.
really looking forward to the idea of not having to wrap those tree trunks, I can tell you that for sure.
And unwrap them.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And then we found that the squirrels like to eat, I didn't know this, but they like to eat Christmas light wires. Or with the mood lighting, we actually have places where when the wiring was strung up the tree trunk has actually grown around it. So it makes it a real problem for the trees as well. And so.
So do you know the life of the life expectancy of the lights that we're putting up?
Yes, they come with a 10-year warranty on the actual canisters and the lights, and so they will be replaced free of charge. The warranty for the actual work to install them is a 1-year warranty, but getting the lights come with a 10-year warranty. So,
I have a question.
okay.
Ms. Knox?
Did you say that you hoped that this would be finished by the end of the fiscal year?
Yeah, we're gonna get it done. We just needed to get all of our steps going, so.
When is the fiscal year? Is it
The
October 1.
30th
Yeah,
of September.
like this month?
Yes,
The end of
yes,
this
uh-huh.
month? Oh, that's
Yes,
even
ma'am.
better. Yeah, that's
Yes.
great.
I know, are they LED lights or?
Yes, they are. They're a low voltage LED light, but they're very, very bright. They're
Okay.
going to be bright now. Yes, low voltage. So
Wonderful.
it's been a process. I've been learning about how to get bids and stuff to make it work. So
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion to pass this.
I'll make a motion to approve the $31,000 from the 2019-2020 Community Development Underspent Budget to hire Hargis Electric and Bryco and Company to install landscape lighting for the plaza.
Thank you, Ms. Knox. Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number
I
22.
want to add one thing, if you don't mind, Ms. Portugal.
Oh, okay.
If it did get approved, the rep that sells the lights is going to set up a mock lighting on Wednesday night after dark. So if you want to drive by the plaza and check it out.
Ooh, this Wednesday night, like right about dark?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to set it up during the day, and then after dark, we're going to check it out. So you'll be able to drive by and check out.
All right, thank
An
you.
example. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Item number 22, convene into executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code. One, to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body has received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or two, to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect described by subdivision 1 as follows: Project Rocket X, Project Rainwater Falls. Number B, Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. The time is 6:20 p.m., and City Council is convened into executive session. Ms. Hammond will join us. The time is 6:56 PM, and the city council's reconvened into open session. No action is required on our executive session. Item number 24, consider and approve future events for city council and/or city staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081. Does anyone have any future events?
Here tomorrow night at 5:30?
5:30.
5:30. That's correct. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And I bet it's unanimous. Thank you.